Absolutely. I'll make it with high audience retention, strong curiosity loops, emotional storytelling, and smooth transitions, without clickbait or false claims. It will be written to maximize watch time while staying trustworthy for a senior gardening audience. Imagine walking outside one morning after 10 days without watering your lemon tree. The leaves are still green. The branches are standing tall. At first glance, everything seems perfectly normal. You might even smile and think, maybe this tree doesn't need as much water as I thought. But here's the surprising part. At this very moment, when the tree still looks healthy, it may already be working harder than it has in days. The biggest changes are not happening where your eyes can see them. They're happening deep inside the tree, hidden beneath the soil and inside every leaf. This is something that surprises many gardeners. They expect a thirsty lemon tree to look dry almost immediately. Instead, the tree often stays calm on the outside while quietly protecting itself on the inside. In a strange way, the healthiest-looking tree can sometimes be the one under the greatest hidden stress. If you've ever forgotten to water your lemon tree, or wondered whether 10 days without water is too long, you're not doing anything wrong. This question is more common than you might think. Every garden is different, and lemon trees have developed remarkable ways to survive dry periods. The secret is learning to understand what they're trying to tell us before obvious warning signs appear. By the end of this video, you'll understand what your lemon tree experiences day by day during those 10 dry days. More importantly, you'll discover why many gardeners accidentally make the problem worse after finally reaching for the watering can. Once you understand these quiet changes, caring for your lemon tree becomes much simpler and often requires less effort than you might expect. Before explaining why this happens, it helps to understand what your lemon tree does during the very first day without water. The first 24 hours are usually very quiet. If you walked into your garden, you probably wouldn't notice anything unusual. The leaves still look green. The branches still hold their shape. Flowers and small lemons appear exactly as they did the day before. From the outside, everything seems unchanged. But below the surface, the roots have already noticed something important. Roots are constantly searching the soil for moisture. They don't wait until the tree looks thirsty. They respond to changes almost immediately. As the soil begins to dry, tiny root hairs that normally absorb water start finding less moisture available. This doesn't mean the tree is in danger yet. It simply means the tree has received an early signal that conditions may be changing. Think of it like hearing distant thunder before a storm arrives. Nothing dramatic has happened yet, but nature is preparing for what might come next. The tree begins making small adjustments that are almost impossible for us to see. Water starts being used more carefully. New growth slows down just a little. Energy is directed toward keeping older leaves healthy instead of producing fresh ones. Every drop of water becomes more valuable. This is why judging a lemon tree by its appearance alone can sometimes be misleading. Healthy-looking leaves do not always mean the roots have everything they need. In fact, the tree's ability to hide stress is one reason lemon trees have survived changing weather for thousands of years. Many gardeners believe that if the leaves are still green, watering can safely wait a little longer. Sometimes that's true. Sometimes it isn't. The important point is that the tree's appearance often lags behind what's happening underground. As the second and third days pass, these hidden changes become even more interesting. Your lemon tree quietly enters what we might call a survival mode. That may sound alarming, but it's actually a normal and intelligent response. The tree isn't giving up. It's protecting itself. One of the first things it does is reduce unnecessary water loss. Tiny openings on the surface of each leaf, called stomata, begin closing for part of the day. These tiny openings normally allow the tree to exchange gases while also releasing water into the air. When moisture becomes limited, the tree closes many of them to slow water loss. This is a clever balancing act. By conserving water, the tree increases its chances of surviving until rain falls or someone waters it again. The trade-off is that growth also slows because those same openings help the tree make food from sunlight. The tree is making a careful decision. Right now, staying alive matters more than growing quickly. Many people mistake slower growth as a sign that something is wrong with the tree itself. In reality, this is often evidence that the tree is doing exactly what nature designed it to do. Around this time, another quiet change begins. Flower production may slow. Tiny developing lemons may stop growing as quickly. The tree starts deciding where its limited energy should go. If enough water doesn't return soon, it may eventually choose to let some flowers or very small fruit drop naturally. While that can disappoint gardeners, it's actually a survival strategy that helps protect the rest of the tree. This decision may seem harsh, but it allows the tree to save resources for healthier branches, stronger roots, and future harvests. Perhaps the most surprising part is that none of these changes require yellow leaves or dramatic wilting. Everything important is still happening quietly. This delayed response explains why so many gardeners become confused a few days later. By the 5th or 6th day, the lemon tree may still look healthier than expected. Its leaves often remain green because chlorophyll doesn't disappear overnight. Many gardeners take this as proof that the tree isn't thirsty. Unfortunately, this is where one of the most common misunderstandings begins. Green leaves do not automatically mean the tree has enough water. A lemon tree can continue looking healthy while the roots are becoming increasingly careful with every drop they collect. The leaves are simply reflecting what happened several days earlier, not necessarily what the tree is experiencing today. That's why visible symptoms often arrive late. Leaf edges may eventually begin curling slightly. Some leaves may lose their firm, upright position. Growth becomes slower than normal. New shoots seem to pause. These signs often appear after the hidden stress has already been building for days. Experienced gardeners eventually learn something valuable. Instead of asking, "How do the leaves look today?" they begin asking, "What has this tree experienced over the last week?" That simple change in thinking often leads to much better decisions. Because the truth is, your lemon tree is always telling a story. Sometimes the story just begins underground, long before the leaves reveal the ending. Understanding that hidden story also explains why many caring gardeners accidentally create a second problem. After finally noticing that the tree looks tired, they naturally want to help. They reach for the hose and give the tree as much water as possible, believing that more water will quickly erase several days of dryness. Comes from a good place. We all want to help a struggling plant. But roots, like people, often need time to adjust after stress. When very dry soil is suddenly soaked with a large amount of water, the roots can become overwhelmed. In some types of soil, especially those with a lot of clay, water may sit around the roots longer than expected. In sandy soil, the opposite can happen. Water may drain away so quickly that very little stays where the roots need it. Instead of trying to make up for lost time in one afternoon, it is usually better to help the tree return to a steady rhythm. A deep, even watering that allows moisture to soak into the root zone is often more helpful than repeated shallow watering throughout the day. The goal is not to force the tree back to perfect health overnight. Nature rarely works that way. Trees recover through patience and consistency, not through sudden changes. This is also why experienced gardeners often spend a few moments looking at the soil before they decide whether watering is needed. They notice whether the surface is dry but the deeper soil is still damp. They pay attention to how warm the weather has been and whether the tree has been sitting in strong afternoon sun or gentle morning light. Small observations often prevent big mistakes. Another important point is that 10 days without water does not mean the same thing in every garden. Imagine two lemon trees. One is planted in the ground beneath a thick layer of mulch. The other grows in a container on a sunny patio. Even if they receive exactly the same weather, they may have completely different experiences. The tree growing in the ground usually has a larger area for its roots to search for moisture. Mulch helps keep the soil cooler and slows evaporation. As a result, the soil may stay moist much longer. The tree in a container has a very different life. Its roots are limited by the size of the pot. On hot days, containers warm up quickly, and moisture disappears much faster. During summer, a potted lemon tree may need water much sooner than one growing in the garden. Climate also changes everything. 10 dry days during a cool spring may not cause much stress at all. The same 10 days during a heat wave can feel completely different to the tree. High temperatures increase evaporation. Strong winds pull moisture from the leaves more quickly. Low humidity speeds up drying even further. This is why fixed watering schedules sometimes disappoint gardeners. A calendar cannot feel today's temperature, cannot see tomorrow's wind or next week's rainfall. Your lemon tree responds to conditions, not dates. Perhaps the most helpful habit is simply learning to observe those conditions instead of following strict rules. Once water becomes available again, something wonderful begins to happen. The first signs of recovery are often so gentle that many people miss them. You may notice that the leaves become a little firmer. Instead of hanging slightly lower, they begin lifting toward the light again. Their surface may appear smoother, with a healthier shine returning over the next several days. Soon after that, tiny fresh shoots may appear near the ends of healthy branches. New leaves often emerge soft and light green before gradually becoming darker as they mature. These small changes are easy to overlook because they happen slowly, but they tell an encouraging story. The roots are working again. Water is moving more freely through the tree. Growth is returning. One of the nicest surprises is that recovery often begins long before the tree looks dramatically different. Inside the plant, important repairs are already taking place. Damaged cells begin replacing themselves. Energy starts flowing back into new growth instead of staying focused only on survival. Many gardeners expect recovery to happen overnight. When it doesn't, they become worried and change their watering routine again. But constant changes usually create more confusion for the tree. A calm, consistent approach allows the roots to settle naturally. In many cases, doing less becomes far more helpful than constantly trying something new. After many summers, experienced lemon growers often discover that successful watering has very little to do with counting days. Instead, they learn to understand the tree itself. They notice how quickly the soil dries after warm weather. They recognize that leaves have their own natural rhythm throughout the day. They understand that every season asks for something slightly different. This observation becomes far more valuable than any fixed schedule. There is also one gentle reminder worth keeping in mind. Young lemon trees need a little more attention than older, well-established ones. Their roots have not yet spread very far, so they cannot search for water as easily. During periods of extreme heat, even mature trees may appreciate a little extra care before the soil becomes completely dry. The goal is never to let a tree struggle for long periods during dangerous weather. Instead, the goal is to notice the early signs and respond calmly before serious stress develops. That simple habit can make gardening feel much easier. Instead of worrying every day, you begin trusting what you see. Instead of watering because the calendar says it's time, you water because the tree and the soil suggest it. Those are two very different ways of gardening. If you're comfortable sharing, I'm curious how often you water your lemon tree. Every garden has its own rhythm, and hearing different experiences often helps all of us learn something new. In the end, healthy lemon trees rarely reward constant attention. They reward understanding. The more time you spend quietly observing your tree, the easier its needs become to recognize. A slight change in leaf position, a new flush of growth, soil that stays moist a little longer after rain. These small details gradually become familiar, and gardening starts to feel less like guessing and more like listening. Nature has been caring for lemon trees long before any of us planted one. Our role is not to control every moment of their lives. Our role is to support them when they truly need it and to trust their remarkable ability to adapt. The healthiest lemon trees are not always the ones that receive the most water or the most attention. Very often, they are the ones growing in gardens where someone has learned to watch first and act second. So the next time your lemon tree goes several days without water, don't rush to conclusions. Take a closer look. Notice the soil. Notice the leaves. Notice the weather. Let the tree tell you its story before deciding what it needs. Sometimes the best gardener is simply the one who pays attention. And sometimes the garden improves when we simply step back and observe. Thank you for spending this time in the garden with me today. If you enjoyed this conversation and would like to learn more simple, practical ways to help your plants thrive with less effort, I'd be delighted to have you join me again in the next video.